Not a grower. Sorry.
But Will, I mean, because that's you've had a pretty storied career, and as you said, you left school and went straight to the NRL, into the Melbourne Storm setup. What was it that firstly tempted you to go to the NRL, and then in 2009 was it or 10 to come back to rugby?
So when I was at school, I'd play league and union, and then the school didn't want me to play league, but then I'd signed to Melbourne. And so, Gleadell champion, what a legend. Filling up water bottles at the Western Falls. So then I'd signed down there, and it's probably, like, looking back, it's probably the best thing I'd ever done. I'll tell you a story about that later. He basically told me I'd never make it. So when I signed to the Storm, my first 15 coach told me I'd never make it. I remember 2010, we're walking out of the corridor, and he was there filling up the water bottles. I said, geez, you've made it far. I was going out, because I was going out at the Force. He was at the Force at the time. I was in the Reds. I was walking out, and he was filling the water boys. I was fucking goose. But,
That's a good story. I like that.
So then so I sort of went to Melbourne, and it was just, I learned to become a professional real fast, and that sort of set me up then for the rest of my footy career. Do you know what I mean? In 2008, I blew my ACL, missed half that season. 2009, come back. Won a comp, and then so I went to the Reds then, and I was pretty fortunate also. Like, with all due respect, I signed to the Reds with Phil Mooney as the head coach, and he got resold, and I was like, oh no. Then Ewan McKenzie came in, and he'd be one of the smartest coaches I'd ever played under, just the way that he looked at rugby and whatever else, and just enjoyed it under him. And I was pretty fortunate. I also had Quaid and Willie G as the halves, Diggers was one winger, and then I had James Horwell as the captain in the forward pack. And so we had like a real stable forward pack, and then we had these erratic halves that just didn't care, and we just played footy, throw the ball around.
It's so good to watch.
It was. And it was also so good to train. It was a great organisation at the time, and it was just good fun. And then I sort of went over to Ireland, played over there for 6 months, and then went back to league because I missed it and wanted to play Origin, and then was lucky enough to achieve me golds, and then sort of travelled around, went to Japan, come back to the Sharks, and then end up in LA. So,
what was your what's your favourite season? Like, where you just go, mate, that was awesome.
I'd say 2017 was the most successful rugby season of my life. Like, I was fortunate enough to win an Origin series, win a grand final, win a World Cup. So that would probably be the one that stands out. And I remember going to the grand final that we were playing the Cowboys, and we were just humming, I said to my old man, I said, have us, we're going to win it. And he was like laughing. He said, I said, mate, just take us. We were going, mate, we were morals, we were just cruising, and that, looking back at that year, that was just, everything just fell into place, and it was just unbelievable. It was probably the best year of my life, and I just enjoyed me footy. But then I look back also, winning the first grand final in 2009, went to the Reds in 7, Storm in 7. They went to a grand final. Halfway through 8, I blow my ACL. I think, fuck, I'm gone here. They go to another grand final. I'm going, there's no chance, because they were in the grand final in 6. I said, they can't go to 4 in a row. Yeah. And then sure enough, I got in there. And so 9 and 12 were good, but 17 was just
special.
Yeah, everything fell into place, and it was good.
If you go back, Willie, you win a premiership in 2009, and I'm not too sure when you signed with the Reds, but I guess what was your reasoning, jumping code? Were you always wanting to come back?
That's the exact reason that coach said to me when I was at school.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because he said I'd never make it, and I sort of...
It was a tough year, that one, mate.
We lost every game.
I always say, hey, no, mate, perfect season. Like, no, we lost them.
Yeah, lost them all, but I look back at that 8, and I think, I was always driven by people telling me I couldn't do things, and... was it the best?
Run across Ross Oval.
Nah, straight across it. But I look back and go, it was just a part of my life where I'd always try and find motivation. Didn't have any self-motivation. And then as I got older, I wanted to achieve my own goals and stuff like that. So, I was mid-2000, so start of 2009, I told the Storm that I was going to be there for the following year, because I didn't want it to drag on. I was off contract, and I just couldn't be bothered going through a year going, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I told Bellyache, and he was sweet. He said, mate, so long as you're committed to this year, we'll just go from there. And he said, mate, you just stick at it, and I played every game, and it was all good.
What's he like? Like he's just one of those guys that he's got the algorithm.
No, he's
sorted. What's he like? Is it?
To me, it's very different. Like I went there as a 17-year-old kid that was loose on the piss, and like, do you know what I mean? Like and he just like he got all that out of me and like fixed me up basically. And I remember I was telling someone, I might have been one of the boys in LA. Like I copped a spray one day in a meeting. I was fuming. I was in the right, and it was like I was not in the right. I made the wrong decision or whatever. And I was fuming because like a couple of other boys didn't get in trouble. And I walked out and I was like seething. I was like, fuck this, I'm out, like I'm done. And then he walks up to me and he goes, oh, how's Bianca and the kids? That's my wife and kids. I looked at him, I said, you fair dinkum? And he goes, come in the office. He said, mate, see that there? That's work. He said, now I care about you as a person. And that there just rings true of the person he is. Like, we're in a meeting room, he'd just tee off on you and go berserk, and you'd be going, fuck. And then you walk out and he'd be like, me, you want to go for a coffee? Like, mate, gym, yeah? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I just had, and I've had such a great relationship with him, and I still keep like well in contact with him. And there's a lot of boys I do, and yeah, like I sort of like that era that I was down in Melbourne was just phenomenal. And I was so like, I'm forever grateful for the opportunity I got down there with so many professionals. And like you got like Bill and that as well, Cam, like they're all just these ultimate professionals, but they had their own unique way of preparing and playing footy.
Such a good there's a lot of good like man managers like that, like your Wayne Bennett, your
but
Bellamy's and stuff.
Well, Bellamy was under Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, he
it's
was,
so good to it's good. But cool to hear that sort of stuff.
You've gone cross code. You've arguably had, in my opinion, 3 of the best coaches to do it in Ewan McKenzie.
Yeah.
Eddie Jones and Craig Bellamy. You've been coached by all of them. What sets them apart? Obviously, you touched on Craig a little bit there, but what about the other 2? Like, they're all 3 very different coaches.
Yeah, so Ewan was real tactically very clever and just, mate, you go into games, you go, mate, we're going to trick these guys all games. You know what I mean? I was just like, mate, he had all these brilliant ideas, and I'd never looked at a game the way that he did. Eddie Jones and Bellac are very similar. Like, the way how intense they are and that around footy and stuff. Like Bellac would just stand at the end with his glass on. Eddie'd be at the back screaming and yelling, and that was them 2 are similar. Another good coach I had was Mal Meninga. Mal Meninga was a very, very good man manager, but he had another different outlook again because he only had us for 3 Origins. His things were, mate, I just got to get used to play for 80 minutes. That's all I've got to do is get used up for 80 minutes. So he was really good as well, and I had him in the World Cup in 17, and he was phenomenal, just the way that he got the boys to buy in and just believe in that we were good enough. And, I think that Bellyache and Eddie Jones, for most coaches, would have only a short lifespan because of how intense they are, but they must have it balanced well for their life away from footy because, I wouldn't, and that's half the reason why I don't ever want to go into coaching was because of how intense they are about their coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't mind having an intense coach because at least I know where I stand, and as long as they're direct and honest with you, well, then you know what you got to fix up. If you don't fix it up, you're not on the side, and it's pretty simple. Do you know what I mean? And that's how Bellyache, he always said, I'll always pick a defensive player over an attacking player because we've got enough attack in this room. Like, and we had like GI, Bill, Coops, Cam. You're like, yeah, I can agree with that. You know, like, as long as I make my tackles, I might get a crack here. But yeah, no, I just think that they all managed really well. And the one thing about all the good coaches, they can put footy aside and worry about you as an individual. And if you can do that as a coach and separate it, that's the most important thing, especially today's day and age. You know what I mean? Like with everything going on in the world and how much pressure's on a footy player. I think that's very important, being able to separate, especially with the young kids coming through. Like, that's the most important thing, do you know what I mean? And, like, as a parent now, like, you'd want someone that's their boss that's going to look after them in a lot of ways, do you know what I mean?
And you're almost like the rugby equivalent of Forrest Gump. Wherever you go, either a premiership tends to precede or follow wherever you tend to go through the Storm and the Reds and the Giltinis and all this shit and the Sharks.
You guys went right in Ireland too, didn't you?
Munster here. I left, but we were into the Heineken Cup semi-final, Heineken Cup semi-final or something. But I'd come back. That was 2012, and then I was fortunate. I come back. I was out of the Sharks, the Bulldogs, and the Storm, and I was coming back on nothing because I sort of mucked up a bit. Like when I was at the Reds and wasn't real welcome in Australian rugby, and I had a bad rap everywhere. But like from there I got pretty fortunate and Ballack and that give me one last chance and end up winning the comp there in 12. So it's pretty cool.
It's crazy, yeah. And you've had a pretty roundabout way through your rugby career as well. But a lot of people wouldn't know that your centre partner in 05 at Nudgee was none other than Namani Nadolo, who also has had a pretty crazy, I guess, career in so much as, had the under-20s, Aussie under-20s, and then down in the Tars, and then found himself in Japan.
He was at the Broncos there for a bit, wasn't he?
I think he did a pre-season training,
the Broncos,
the train and trial deal and all this stuff, and then found himself in Japan, and then almost out of nowhere in his mid-20s, he's killing it. And not even mid-20s, maybe late 20s, he's killing it for the Crusaders. He's killing it for the Crusaders out of nowhere. But, I mean, it must be pretty exciting to see, an old mate like that. He's arguably... on his day, he's arguably the best rugby player in the world.
Yeah, he's a big fella, right? He was massive. he was like massive at school, but
he was huge.
I remember when he first came there, he said, "I'm a winger that kicks skulls." I was like, "No, you're not. You're a front roller, mate. You're packing the scrum." But no, he was skillful and that. Yeah, it's so good to see him coming back, and it's great to see him go back to the Waratahs as well. Do you know what I mean? He's like you said, he's had a roundabout career. He's been everywhere, and he's over in Europe and England. It's just good to see him come home and hopefully close out his career there at the Waratahs, and hope they can go do something special next year.
And what are your thoughts on the MLR? I think on the PAC podcast last week we had Harry Higgins, who talk about weird careers, man. He's absolutely mental. It was more about chop and piss than anything else. But he talks about MLR being the sleeping giant. You've got these professional players coming in. You've got the college system with all these South Africans and Kiwis at BYU and Maryland and Navy and all this stuff. It's a strong competition, and they've got the World Cup within the next decade as well.
Yeah, I think that's their end goal, is that 10 years time, that World Cup. But I was just watching there before with that Gordon side. You look at Harrison Goddard. He's I was speaking to Dal before. He's killed it for the last month or so in that Shoot Shield, and mate, he was 3 years ago, couldn't get a crack anywhere. Goes over there, starts playing some good, consistent footy in a professional organisation, and then he's now gone back to the Waratahs. He's come back and he'll get another crack. Do you know what I mean? I think that you'll see a lot of young kids that can't crack it in Super Rugby or on that fringe will go over there, get into a professional organisation. Can't say that word, I think if you get him over there, you get young kids over there, it'll be unreal for them. Because once you get into that, the professionalism of it all, then you start creating habits and whatever, and then you become, you can go to that next level, do you know what I mean? It's so important. And look, in Japan, it took them 10 years to get it going over there, right?
Yeah.
And 10 years' time from now, there's a World Cup. You'd like to think that it's humming over there. I reckon next year after the World Cup, you'll see some big names go, because they'll have to up the salary cap and everything else over there, and then they'll start to try and pump it up and chase that big one for the World Cup.
Was that a good season at Giltinis?
Oh, yeah, until the end.
yeah.
Mate, we were just coming well. We're coming good, eh? We'd have a few players out and stuff, but we're just starting to hum and we're starting to go in the right direction. And it's a shit fight at the end, but yeah, it is what it is. And hopefully go back next year and just go and finish it all off. Do you know what I mean? You look, New York won it and we pumped them by 50. But, do you know what I mean? So we'll just see how we go. We'll wait and see. And a bit of a dead rubber, that one, but let's go from there.
Let's talk about you personally and the people that you've played with. So let's talk about it from a playing perspective. I think you touched on Cooper before, but playing across two codes, who's the best you've done it with?
That's a tough one, mate. I'd like to think one of the most, I'd go say Coops, Bill, and Matt Giddo would be the three most professional people I've ever played with. Gitz has got so much rugby league about him, it's not funny in the sense that the way that he prepared. But I can only go off what I've seen, and that's the big thing. What I've seen from the way that he's prepared and the way that he's gone about his footy is just phenomenal. And that's the same as the way that Bill did, the way that Coops did. They never missed a rep, never did anything wrong. Everything was perfect, and it's probably why their careers stretched out so long. Yeah. Then you got Cam that was just a natural leader, do you know what I mean? And he just never got flustered. He wasn't the fittest, he wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but he just fucking do his job.
Is that Cam Munster?
No, Cam Smith.
Oh,
Cam Smith, yeah, just done his job. And then you got Munster, Quady, all them, they're just there's so many freaks that I've played with, and to narrow it down to one would be unfair on so many others because I think that like Genya, Willie G was good, Quady, like you've got all these as well that were just phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? And that's for me to narrow it down to one on the best footy player. I'd say, I don't know. I'd say I got a real Coops would be the one because I played so much alongside him at every level. I reckon he would be. Then I'd play with Jonathan Thurston. Do you know what I mean? He's as fucking as good as anyone. He's as good as anyone. Do you know what I mean? So that for me, it's very hard. But
I told you, you're like
You've
the
been
rugby
pretty
equivalent of Forrest
You've
Gump.
been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I haven't
He
even
just
said
named 10 fucking
but
Hall of
that's-
Fame.
Immortals. Oh yeah, play with that guy. Play with that guy.
And then you throw Inglis in.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I'd say Greggy is the most naturally gifted athlete. Most naturally gifted
But
athlete.
he was superhuman. He's what, 6'5",
Oh,
fast as
mate.
the wind.
Mate,
He would have
110
been. He would have been
kilo.
worth 10 million, mate.
He was.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. We'd always used to make this joke. How strong is Greggy? Just strong enough. How fast is he? Just fast enough to beat you. Because you'd never. I don't reckon he ever reached his full potential.
Never looked like he was trying.
Exactly.
Never looked like he was trying.
Yeah,
but he's just gassing everyone.
The gym coach at Melbourne's got some crackers about testing days and stuff like that. He'd go pick up 40 kilos to practice his squats, and then away he'd go, mate. He'd go out and squat 220 with ease. He's just he was phenomenal as an athlete. But I don't know. It's so hard. To narrow it down to one player that I've played with, it's so hard.
You mentioned some big names and I've only have exposure to rugby, and I put Willie Genya in this. He's in a different sort of level, but he was one throughout his career. Obviously, he made tons of sacrifices to get to where he was. With rugby, especially rugby union, we travel the world. We have great nights on the piss. We have fun all over the place. But Willie was always one. He wouldn't enjoy those things as much. He'd pick his times, 1 or 2 times a year. Were Cooper, Cam Smith, were they the same, or were they more sort of involved in the team?
That's what I mean. Cam, we'd win games, and Cam would be still in his gear mid-morning on the piss.
That's so good.
Yeah, but then
He's a kid from Logan, mate.
Yeah, but then Bill would enjoy a beer, but he wouldn't get blind, and then Coops might get on the piss here and there. It was just, they were all different. It was just a different dimension. You know what I mean? I remember after an Origin, that all 3 of them would be on the piss with you, and you'd be going, fuck, we got to play in 2 days. And you'd be looking around going, are these 3? And they just all back up. There was no issue. And I remember one day I asked them why they backed up when I was younger. I said, why do you always back up? And they're well, if it wasn't for the boys that were in this room now that we're playing with at Melbourne, we wouldn't be playing Origin. So that always rings clear.
So selfless, hey?
You watch Melbourne always, all their Origin players always back up. Very rarely do you get rested.
So good.
And I always ask that same question that you asked them. I'm why the hell are they backing up?
But it's because, without, and then I remember, we played this one game, and it was at the Amy Park. I was sitting there going, fuck, why am I doing this?
Head noise.
They're over there preparing normally. I'm going, wow. And then we get out, we go smoke a team, and you're just now I know why I'm doing it. But, because... teammates rely on you at clubland as much as they do at international, at state of origin level.
Got to be mentally tough to get up for, though.
What was the most sort of intense, physically sort of games and stuff you played? Would it have been your Origins?
Nah, the World Cup final was just when we went back to that one referee.
Was that against England?
England, we won 8-4.
Yeah.
They're just big, tough British blokes.
Yeah, but it was just it was end-to-end footy, and there was only one ref, so the ruck speed was just ridiculous. And I remember sitting there, I was gassed at the end. I just won a World Cup, I just laid on the ground. I was like, who cares, man? I was so gassed, that was the hardest one, I reckon, I was like, fuck. But then, I reckon, I know a few of the Origins, some of the Origins later on when the game just went through the roof fast.
Hey?
Yeah, I just remember there was one. I think it was we went the first 26 minutes of an Origin without an error or a ball out of play. And that was just end to end footy, and it was just you end up stuck between the 30s because you're sort of just there. And so the forwards, they're just turning around, chase a kick, they just turn around. They don't even carry. You back 5 over the carries and away from there. But I don't know. You play some big, tough games here and there, but it's the speed of the game that's the hard bit.
Yeah, the Origin this year was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Best Origin ever. That last one, mate, that was phenomenal.
That was
Benny
insane,
Hunt, Benny Hunt got that ball. Jesus. was in the Mexico at the time. A few tequilas short.
Just touching on that, you've had your fair few celebrations, right? You've celebrated a few things. Who's the best to do it on the piss? You've had a few.
Probably Kevy Proctor. He's a genuine madman, mate. Like not many will beat him, eh? Like I've been with AFL boys, union and league, and not many do his shoelaces up. He's phenomenal, mate.
Is he?
Yeah, ridiculous.
Well, that's
shout out to Kevin Proctor.
Yeah, I was actually about to say we got some questions sent in on our socials earlier today. The first one came from Mark Gagan, don't know on what, but says here the loosest human on a Mad Monday. So Kevin Proctor.
I've seen we were on a trip away to the Tiger. I don't know which ones they were. They were the older boys like Bryce Gibbs and that. I've seen some shit they did on a mat. Like, we were on a trip away. And what they were doing, I was just like, what the fuck's going on? This is not rugby league. This is a whole different world. But I reckon, I've been, you see a lot of different stuff, man. Look, people are loose on the piss, do you know what I mean? But, I reckon Kevy be the best.
He's just good gas.
Yeah.
So Penny _Banuve wants to ask, best player he played during his school days at Nudgee?
Played against?
Yeah, I assume so.
With.
No, it says here, best player
with
he played.
Bill Costello. But then, I reckon David Pocock. I remember we played Churchy.
Bro, that game, man, at Ross Oval.
Mate, we played Churchy, and if we won, we would have tied the comp. They played David. Played inside centre. So we had these plays.
He played 12 for first 15 and then made Australian schoolboys at 7.
Yeah, but he played.
Like, what is this shit?
Mate, I remember, we had these plays, and all year they were working well. Anyway, we played there, mate. Every time I got the ball, he's over the top of it. Mate, no one can move him. He's a beast, He's like a little tank over the ball. But then, I just reckon, he was. I've always had so much respect for him. I loved everything about the way that he went about footy, and I really respect him as a footballer.
Yeah, I feel your Chambers. Zach said he's got footage of him bumping me from. I think they beat us 78-0. Or maybe that was you guys. I don't know.
It was all a blur.
Craig Mulholland wants to ask, one player you despise, but once you became teammates, you became good mates.
Ooh, that's a good question.
So essentially, Doss or Dow?
Nah, I don't even really know. I haven't.
Who's a grub?
Grub.
Who did you think was a bit of a grub, but then you're like, oh, he's actually
Sam Burgess, for example. I've had some mad run-ins with him, but apparently he's a real good fella. But I've never had much to do with him. But I respected him as a footballer. Paul Gallen's the same. I respected him, but mate, I had some mad run-ins with him. Do you know what I mean? The sledging was off its head, but do you know what I mean? But I respect them as the way how tough they are and the way they went about their business. And at the end of the day, I always say, mate, people think I'm an absolute cocksucker, but all I did was have white line fever. I wanted to win, and when I was younger, I remember Bellak said to me, you got to make it personal. So I used to run on the field, stand opposite the guy and just mouth him straight away because...
Learn that in the dorms, mate.
Because then instantly, then it was personal. And then he hated me, I hated him, and we're just going to go at it. But... yeah, I got carried away at times. I said shit that I shouldn't have said, but at the end of the day, I still shake their hand and you just go from there. Do you know what I mean? And that was, I don't know. I didn't have too many that come to Melbourne that, I reckon the whole of Cronulla didn't like me at one stage. I ended up playing for them, but I got a police escort in and out of Shark Park. Do you know what I mean?
When you played there,
Is there a sledging battle with an opponent that stands out?
Oh yeah, man! I've said some real bad, nasty stuff. I would never, ever. I repeated it on the piss, but I don't like talking about it because I look back at it and just think, fuck, what was I thinking when I said that? But it's just because I just go blank.
But in terms of someone coming back at you,
anyone get you? Oh, jeez.
Nah,
no one hurt.
Because I remember Willie Mason said once, he said, if someone gets back at you, just cut them to the bone. Just go straight to the bone. Go to the most ruthless thing you can say to someone and just leave it at that. That's all I thought when I did it. I just thought, I'll just go straight to the bone.
Straight to the bone.
So good.
Well, Will, I just got word from Zachy Boy. He actually said we've got highlights from that 05 Nudgee versus Churchy game showing up on the screen here. Check this out.
I got a little white headgear on, don't I?
Yeah, you would have.
The Canterbury white
headgear. Look at Rat running second.
Yeah, look at him go.
Was CT at the
Is
back
Gussie
then?
Cameron in this team as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gussie was there.
Mate, I remember.
How did you pull this?
There's Damani.
There he
Williams.
is.
There's
That's
Nems.
Looks like Sully.
Look at this.
Who else they have?
Video quality's not too
They
bad,
had
actually.
Quay, didn't they?
Quay
Yeah,
Cooper at 10. Will Thompson at 9.
Yeah.
Oh, Will Thompson is
Fraser
a good
Evans
player.
at fullback. James Sherrill-Lambus at hooker.
Fraser Evans, there
Fraser
he
Evans.
is.
Ferret, yeah.
Oh,
Who's
mate.
that? He's quick.
Is that
Blake-
Gus?
No, Blair Connor.
Oh, it is.
Hey, he was. You would never run past.
He was
him,
rapid, mate. How about this? How's the memories, mate?
Where did you get this from, Zachy?
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Johnny Sayre, probably.
From his porn stash, I think. Look at this. How about it?
Wow, that's phenomenal.
It's Stani.
Yes.
Oh.
There's Quaid.
Yeah.
He had that Jerry curl.
Oh,
then.
that's Blair.
Was that?
It's a red card.
There he is.
Mate,
Surprised
this was
you got a
early.
tee.
This was early in the game. It's still 0-0, and Nemzi's just bombed this from the sideline.
From 40 out.
Yeah.
Mate, he was.
Cleared it by
so
a good 15 metres. Will Thompson, one player who
He was amazing.
should have played higher football, mate.
Harry Elliott, he was good as well.
Yeah, he was tough as an old boot,
Is that
mate.
rat? Is that rat?
I don't
No, it's
know.
not that. It's definitely not rat, mate. He would have been. He would have
That's
been.
rat. That's
He
rat.
would have had square wheels. That was not that fast.
Let's look at
Chris
Pocock. Look at the
Johnson.
size of Pocock there.
Oh,
Gee,
CJ.
look at him just move the whole ruck. Jesus, he's like packed a scrum on us.
Look at the size of him there, eh? Look at the size of him, man. Wearing 12.
Mate, I played water polo against him in grade 12, and mate, he was just an absolute weapon.
Rat. That's rat. Oh.
Admit one, never
That's my best player.
Admit one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yawning.
Same move.
That's
Blair,
Blair.
get him, Blair.
Yeah.
That's Nick Wright.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, it is too.
Is it?
Yeah.
There he is.
You had the mohawk.
No, I had a
You had the mohawk.
Yeah, the
there.
I had a
blackhead
mo-
gear.
No,
No,
he had the
black-
mohawk.
You had the
Faux
mohawk.
hawk. Look at this.
Something changed.
How good is this
Nah.
shit?
Surely they don't go to length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mate, this Churchy side was so sick.
Red hot, man.
So sick. But they didn't play crazy football. They were just...
Who's that? Chasing.
Don't know.
Is that a self-plug?
Oh,
A
Angus
shameless
Lay.
plug?
No, Angus Lay was.
Oh, was that Angus Lay
No, he's a 7. He was.
He
a
was
7.
7.
Yeah, yeah.
in grade 10?
Good scrum.
Oh, against the feed. Jeepers. Oh, Bongo. That's who's on there.
Oh, that's right, Bongo.
Bongo.
Jeez.
Sick.
Big Gavin Warren. Is that Big Gavin Warren?
Yeah. No, he played. No,
Seamus
number 1.
Delahunty.
Yeah. That's it. They won.
How about it?
40 to 3, wasn't it?
42.
Oh, was it a bloodbath?
Yeah, absolute hiding.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
The old days, eh?
Mate, that Churchy side was ridiculous.
How good were the big cotton jerseys?
Oh, mate.
Oh, mate, ridiculous, eh? Absolutely. I still wear my first 15 jersey to bed now, and it fits better now than it did when I was in grade 12. And I was 30 kilos lighter.
Oh.
They just didn't give a shit, eh? Oh, mate. How good was that? One last question coming in from Shay Lala Chambers before we go forward. Who gets weirder on the piss, league or union, lads?
I reckon league.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. Union are pretty. Yeah, it's pretty tame. Like it's. I don't know. Like fine.
What about in Europe, mate? The English.
Oh, the Irish dudes were pretty crazy, but they're just big drinkers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they get blind and go to bed. Like the Japs are fun. Oh, Japanese are fun. Like,
They go hard and fast, though.
Go real red.
Oh, yeah, mate.
pass
They
out.
get the hour of power, man. And you,
Gunpie.
the high balls. Yeah,
yeah.
mate. They get absolutely
go real
blind.
red.
Yeah,
Mate.
sit there, piss and shit themselves, and that's all. Put them on the train and send them home.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's so sick.